All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Joining me right now on the phone's good friend of the program, Republican strategist Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
Doing great, Chad. Good morning.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. It's been dubbed Impeachment Week, Matt, and that's what I guess eventually all eyes will be on what's going on with the Democrats, the Republicans, and President Trump and this whole impeachment deal. What do you read into how this week is playing out so far?
Yeah, I mean, the impeachment inquiry is entering a different phase now. It's entering a public phase, and I think there's a couple aspects of that will be interesting. I think one will just be the question of whether public attitudes about impeachment change in a meaningful way in either direction. Up to this point, the inquiry has really been done behind closed doors. To the extent the public knows anything, it's either based on opening statements that have been released by some of the witnesses, or it's from leaks, primarily from Democratic members to their favored journalists in the national media. So it'd just be interesting to see whether public attitudes change if they're able to watch these hearings directly. I think the second thing, Chad, that's going to be interesting is, most of what we've heard has been, negative information related to the administration about all this Ukraine stuff. The public hearings are going to have information on both sides, right? I mean, you're going to have Republican members certainly ask questions of these witnesses that may undermine the narrative that the Democrats and their media allies have been making for the last, 5 or 6 weeks. So I think it's going to be more of a mixed picture, is my guess. Starting this week, I think we have hearings, I want to say Wednesday and Friday in public, and then it'll continue through probably early December, mid-December, presumably with the goal of wrapping up by the end of the year. So, again, I think you'll have a mix of facts that come out in both directions, and we'll have to see how the public responds.
When I saw this story yesterday, I knew I had to ask you about it. Rudy Giuliani is considering launching an impeachment podcast. Smart move, bad move?
I'm kind of the view we could all do with a little less Rudy Giuliani. I'm certainly a fan of his public career. He doesn't seem to be as sharp now as he once was, and so I think the more he talks, the more problems he creates. You generally don't have an attorney for someone who talks as much as he does, particularly in public with the interviews. Look, if he wants to analyze, different witnesses, different stories, and provide, direct responses from the Trump legal team, there's probably some value there. But I can tell you, as someone who has a podcast, there are more than enough podcasts out there. It's hard to break through. His probably will get some traction and some attention since he's effectively a newsmaker. But I think the other thing to watch about Rudy is he's increasingly starting to look like a target of the Southern District of New York, related to his activities in Ukraine, related to perhaps foreign lobbying, perhaps campaign finance, those kinds of issues. So we'll see whether that develops. But if he ends up becoming a target, he's going to need to hire his own lawyer, and I think he may have already done that.
Yeah. I guess for those who don't remember the Clinton years, or for those who were even too young maybe for the Clinton impeachment stuff, how streamlined should this be? I know we're dealing with President Trump, and not everything is as streamlined as normal, but when it comes to, I guess, reaction, and when it comes to what is said publicly, how does that need to work from the White House?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty underwhelmed by the administration's efforts in this regard. I don't know that I necessarily blame any staff person in the White House, although it sounds like there's a pretty unhelpful turf battle going on between the White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and the White House counsel Pat Cipollone. But as someone who's done communications for 16 years, including working for U.S. senators and a governor, and working in corporate public relations, I can just tell you that in situations like this where the stakes are really high, it's really important that message coordination and message discipline are occurring, minute by minute, hour by hour, and day by day. And I know the president believes he's his own best communicator, and I think as it relates to campaign rallies and his campaign message, and even his message on the economy and other accomplishments, I think that's true. On a very dicey issue like this, where words matter, where facts matter, where the narrative matters, where public opinion matters, I just don't think you can wing it. And it just feels to me like the White House is sort of winging it. And that's why you're continuing to see sort of confusion up on Capitol Hill. The House Republicans are saying one thing, Senate Republicans are saying something else. That's not helpful. Now, maybe now that this enters a public phase, it'll start to get better. But there's been just, an initial resistance inside the White House of setting up a war room. They've apparently now hired a former Attorney General of Florida, Pam Bondi, and Tony Sayegh, who's worked at Treasury as a sort of communications person. Whether they're going to be fully empowered or not, what their roles are going to be, I don't know. So, look, I think the bottom line, Chad, is honestly, I think that their efforts have been inadequate to this point. And now that it's entering a new phase, it's probably time to up their game. Look, if the public opinion moves against the White House in this public phase, it's going to put pressure on moderate Republicans in the House and Senate. Now, maybe they all stick together, and I think they should. I don't see anything here that's impeachable. You could make a case that mentioning, the Bidens on the one phone call was inappropriate, but high crimes and misdemeanors does not mean allowing someone to be impeached just because they made one mistake. Particularly if it's one that didn't matter very much and ultimately didn't affect policy in Ukraine or their ability to defend themselves or anything else. So I wish they were kind of performing at a higher level. I realize there are some limitations there, and I think during this secret phase that Adam Schiff put in place, it was probably pretty hard to do a good job given the nature of how it was running. But now that it's entering a public phase, they really need to up their game, be far more disciplined and far more coordinated.
Matt, let's get into the 2020 political news. Joe Biden, he's still the front runner. He's still the leader, but polls show him slipping in Iowa and in New Hampshire. And I realize we're still pretty far out from these primaries, but you see Buttigieg on his way up in New Hampshire and in Iowa, and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are still hanging around, if not leading, in those states, depending on the poll that you look at. What does that all mean for Joe Biden? Can he afford to lose both of those states?
Yeah, great question. I think he's hoping that South Carolina will be his firewall, and if the African American support that he's had so far sticks together behind him, I think there's a chance he may be proven right in that regard. I just know that when you lose early states, particularly those first two early states, it becomes very difficult to win down the road. Voters want to be with winners. The media only covers winners. If you start losing those early states, particularly if you're the national frontrunner, you're going to have a real tough time raising money, and you're going to have a real tough time holding your support together. So, I kind of look at the map and I wonder, where does Biden win besides South Carolina? And, of course, if he does that, he will have lost the first three contests because Nevada's third and South Carolina's fourth. Look, I would also just add, Chad, that this Democratic race, I think, is in some ways more unpredictable today than it's been almost at any time. You have the potential, entry of Mike Bloomberg running, who appears poised to run a very unique approach, basically skipping the first four early states and spending $100 million on Super Tuesday. That's never been tried before. Normally, you can't survive a Super Tuesday financially if you lose the first four states or if you skip them, or even if you skip one or two of them. So we've never seen anyone do that. I think, Bloomberg's potential entry is a sign that he thinks, Biden can't win the primary and Warren can't win the general, and that's why he thinks he's getting in. I actually think his entry would make Warren's nomination more likely, not less. Yeah. Playing into her message, dividing support among moderates with Biden. I don't understand why he thinks he's the cure. While I think his diagnosis is correct. You also have this late-breaking story last night that former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick is considering jumping in this week as well. African-American, two-term governor, fairly moderate Democrat, might be able to compete in New Hampshire. So he's going to have some potential ability, although I think it's late. So my point is, this thing's unpredictable, and as I've said before on your air, Chad, I think there's a really strong chance Elizabeth Warren wins Iowa and New Hampshire back-to-back. And if she does that, she's going to be very, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Matt, tell folks about your newsletter and your podcast.
Yeah, our morning email is called Must Read Texas. We take all the top news from around the state of Texas, all the different media markets, put it in one clean, easy-to-read email, and deliver it every weekday morning by 9 a.m. More than 3,000 Texans receive it. You can sign up for a free one-week trial at mustreadtexas.com. The podcast is called Mac on Politics. It's available in the iTunes Store, on Stitcher, on Spotify, and on Google Play. Most recent episode is with CNN contributor Alice Stewart, who worked for both the Huckabee and Cruz campaigns when they won Iowa. She's got some great insights into Iowa and to the national political environment, so check that out.
Very nice. Matt, as always, appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Chad. Take care.
That's Matt Mackowiak here on the Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.